Hey, Grumpy here. For this edition of Fifth Quarter Roar, I have me a special guest. Probably going to be a regular on Fifth Quarter Roar. Uh, moving on to moving on into the future. We are rabid Detroit Lions fans, and that's what this show is all about. And we talk about the Detroit Lions. Some people may not care, but first of all, I want to say thank you, Bill, for allowing me to stay at your house
Always
and
welcome.
the beautiful surroundings, the lake, the everything.
Always welcome.
Okay. I'm I got to give me a minute here. It's been a little while since I've done one of these, so uh, we're going to talk about some of the preseason stuff. I'm not really that prepared. I was more prepared to bring my gear with me. So I guess there was a motive to my madness was um, when I said, "Hey, you want to do a fifth quarter roar?" I got all my gear. So he probably thought, he's got all his gear. What's going on with that? So he went through some stuff, and we got some stuff for the preseason, so we can talk Detroit Lions football.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think when you want to start out with the Detroit Lions 2024-2025 season, you want to talk about some of the additions, some of the subtractions, and the keys to what I hope to be a very successful, maybe even a Super Bowl run, as we're considered one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country. So I'm pretty excited about some of the information that I've gathered.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so I think when you talk key additions, right, you start with cornerback. We lost a couple of our only two cornerbacks that were starters. They one of them left the team. The other one was not brought back for contract reasons. But then we go out and we get uh, Davis the third at cornerback. Definite upgrade, right? And when you were talking about the 27th ranked defense in the country last year with a top 5 offense for the last 3 years in a row, the one place we had to improve was defense. And if you looked at the games, that we lost, it all came down to our corners. Would you agree?
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah. So when you bring in a top corner like Davis, and then you acquire a second, your first 2 draft picks in the NFL draft were corners also, and you're solidifying that position so that you can play a man-to-man on the corners, and then have the opportunity for your very talented linebackers to blitz. Um,
Yeah.
anything?
So now you said we're 27th in defense.
Yes,
Well, we were this close
we
to
were.
beating the 49ers
We
and
were
rolling through this with the 27th defense in the NFL.
right.
Um,
When you look at the 5 losses, though, you can very specifically see that those teams attacked deep. Right? They were the Green Bay game right off the bat. They're
right.
throwing deep. The
They were throwing deep
49ers in the
balls.
second half of that
Yeah.
game, those were all 25, 30-yard passes where our our defensive line wasn't getting home, and our corners were not able to cover. So,
Well,
and go ahead.
the Ravens were the loss to the Ravens was a mobile quarterback,
Yeah,
and he could chuck the ball.
sure.
So
So when you have a mobile quarterback, which the NFL is known for now, that's where it's headed. You have to have man-to-man coverage on those corners. That's the only way you're ever going to be successful. So,
yeah.
anything?
No, I'm following your lead.
Okay. Key losses. We did lose Josh Reynolds. Now, if you look back at Josh Reynolds and say, okay, the 49ers game, he was terrible, right? He had 2 of the biggest drops in the history of the Detroit Lions, right? A chance to go to the Super Bowl, and he dropped 2 balls. If you look at him on the sideline, the first one he was laughing after he dropped it because he thought, well, that was a one-off, right? And it has been. He had 1,393 yards last year, 97 catches.
Mr.
We needed
Reliable.
99.
Mr. Reliable wasn't
We
reliable.
needed 99, and we'd be in the Super Bowl. However, he had 97, and he decided to not re-sign with the Lions. He went elsewhere for more money, and we didn't really come in with a big backfill on that. I think they're looking at Donovan Peoples-Jones and Jameson Williams as the replacements for him, guys that were already on the roster last year for whatever reason. Jameson's, he's extremely talented. If he can catch the ball, man, we got something. and Donovan Peoples-Jones, a trade from Cleveland, right?
Yes.
Halfway through the season last year when we were looking for some depth, and he didn't do much. Had, I don't remember, a couple average season, less than average season, but he's going to have to step up if we're going to get back those 1,300 yards that exited out the back door. So that's a concern of mine. With Reynolds on the other side, it allowed some of our other receivers and tight ends to be open because they didn't know who to cover. So that is definitely a concern.
Jamo's fast.
He is.
If you remember one of the games, and I can't remember which one it was, where Montgomery scored a touchdown and Jamo was out in front of him blocking for him, blocking for Montgomery. And after the play, in the interview after the game, Montgomery said, "I'm running my rear end off," and Jamo was out there jogging. And they ended up he ended up scoring that touchdown.
Well, you think of Jamo in that 49ers game and that touchdown he scored in the first half. It was incredible.
Oh, yeah.
And it was end around. Yep. So quite incredible. Another key loss, and you and I actually talked about this yesterday, was the C.J. Gardner-Johnson loss. When he wasn't there all season, but you cannot say that he did not have a huge impact in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He was a huge difference maker.
Yep, in the playoffs, he sure was.
In some of those games, it's easy to forget how close both the Rams game and the Tampa Bay game were. Those were not decisive wins. Those were wins at the last minute that our defense stepped up, and who stepped up in both of those games was Gardner-Johnson, who will not be on the field this year. So what are they talking about doing? They're talking about moving Branch back to safety, which they're saying he can play anywhere on the field. So,
and I believe it.
Yeah.
Some of the plays he made last year were just absolutely amazing, and especially when he's a rookie.
Yep. So our defense is going to come down to basically, can the corners cover so that our linebackers are free? If they're free to do what they need to do, then we're going to be successful. That's on defense. And we don't need to be super successful. We just need to be a little bit more successful as long as our offense stays on track. And I'll tell you, it all comes down to Jared Goff, right? Would you agree? I mean, he made him one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the National Football League for a reason.
And a lot of people gave up on Jared Goff.
They did.
Didn't think he was our guy.
Yeah.
And he's proven that maybe he is our guy.
Yeah, like the coach said after the win in the playoffs, good enough for Detroit, and we'll take it.
We'll take it.
I don't see any signs or reasons that, unless of an injury, that he couldn't have an equal year or better year than last year. He's just calm, cool in the playoffs, in the pocket. I mean, he doesn't have the mobility, but with our offensive line, he doesn't need necessarily to be the guy that's running around. He just needs to be able to stay calm long enough to find someone open. And
get some big. The name of the game is pick up the yardage, pick up the first down.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. So, but also with the loss of Reynolds, Reynolds came with him,
right?
And they had this connection, and that 1,300 yards, that was because those two knew exactly where they were going to be on the field, and that's what I'm a little concerned about how you make that up. Where do you make that up?
We still got St. Brown though. St. Brown was clutch.
So St. Brown is going to get all of the attention without.
Yeah, they're gonna teams are probably gonna double team them like they did
Kelvin Johnson. Yep. And then but it does come down to Jared Goff and how is he going to play this year. If he has a successful year, the Lions will have a successful year.
And then we got the news on Comiskey during
very disappointing.
So I haven't read anything except for torn MCL, but I haven't heard anything else. So we're gonna have to follow that.
It's so if you look at it though, who knows? He was probably going to be the first one in as a backup anyway. He probably wasn't going to start. So, but still, that the Lions have struggled with depth for years and years and years, and in the NFL, there's always injuries, and without depth, that's where you see guys you've never heard of on the field, and they were picked up yesterday. So that could hurt us. And then our defense, I'm wearing number 90 for a reason. Now, Sue was never my favorite player, but it was the last time we had a defensive line as good as the one we have today. Right. Sue was on the field. So I'm wearing this on purpose as a reminder to that defensive line was scary, and the defensive line we have now is pretty good. It has a potential to be
Yeah,
pretty good.
and this jersey, the borrowed jersey, I was never a big fan of the black jerseys. And Dan Campbell made a deal with um, what's his name, the president, the president of the Lions. I'm drawing a blank on him, but he
Holmes?
said not Brad Holmes,
Oh,
the other cat.
I don't know who that is.
But that anyway, he made a deal with him that if they went to the playoffs, that they could bring back because um, Dan Campbell played when they wore the black jerseys. They made a deal with them, and they made the playoffs. They bring back the black jerseys.
I never knew that.
Yeah, and there you go. See, that's the kind of
Mm-hmm.
stupid stuff I know. That's why I always have my son Josh because he does all the football stuff, and he
Yeah.
knows all the stuff that goes on with other teams in the league because he pays attention to that.
Sure.
Me, I'm just a rabid Detroit Lions fan. I watch the game. I know the players. I haven't really um, paid attention that much because I've been traveling around for a week here or so and enjoying myself and that kind of stuff. So I haven't really sat down and read up on any of the stuff. But I kind of let's listen to the radio and DetroitLions.com. They have the stuff with the coach, the press conferences with the coach, and
Sure.
then also on YouTube.
Yep.
So we can close this out.
Let's close it out.
can,
Let's go win the Super Bowl.
Go Lions. So we can go enjoy the rest of our day. And if you look behind us, beautiful
Say it right. Vineyard Lake.
Lake near Brooklyn, Michigan. From sitting at it's my cousin Bill sitting at his house. So you probably can expect some more of this stuff, but we'll be doing it probably via the computer kind of thing, doing Teams or Zoom or something to make it a little more fun. So I'll close it out. Like I always, I'm trying to remember how I did it last year. Let's go Lions. We'll talk to you all later.